Okay, I'm not sure if the last three will join us or not. Who knows? We'll see. I wanted to do some light housekeeping, and then I'll snippet our list. Um, okay, so first things first, I probably did not mention due to the fact that we are online, and I guess it just possibly slipped my mind. Um, Not sure if I mentioned, I'm pretty sure I did, at least for the exams. I give as much credit to you guys as I humanly possibly can. Okay? So, with that statement being said, skipping problems on anything is not the best approach you want to take. If you don't put some kind of idea or attempt behind it, I cannot give you any credit because there's nothing for me to work with there. Um, I've gone through, and if you haven't checked back into your Pearson, if you took your quiz one attempt, or at least an attempt on quiz one, at this point, you will see that you probably have a different score than you initially did when you took it. So I do not just go based off of the program. I am not someone that just goes, oh, the program grades for me, so I don't have to do anything and I can sit here with my hand out and just collect money from Lehigh. That's not how I do my business, okay? I I am here to educate you guys, and I don't believe that everything that the computer does is perfect, okay? Um, so I also don't believe that just because you have a sign wrong, or you put an equal sign where it should have been a plus sign, or a plus sign where it should have been a minus sign, I don't believe that you should get zero credit or only half credit. To me, that's a sign error, and it's completely understandable. Um, I also don't believe that you should get zero credit when your answer was 100% right, except you use capital letters instead of lowercase letters, or some combination of that. So it very much helps you to have some form of an attempt on every problem. Does that make sense for everyone? Okay. So going forward, please take take at least an attempt on each problem so I can have something to work with. Um, Secondly, the Pearson's not optional. So if you haven't done anything in Pearson yet, you want to reach out to me so we can have a conversation, because Pearson isn't optional. I don't have any other way to give you homework. If I gave you homework out of the book, you then would all have to be taking photos probably all day long to show me your homework, and I'm not going to sit there and do that. So Pearson, unfortunately for you guys, is a have to. Whereas if we were in class physically, I have taught the class using the textbook instead of Pearson. I did have a class where they just, for whatever reason, they were like, yeah, we're not going to do our homework or quizzes online. And I was like, oh, really? Like, okay. So then I gave them even harder homework and even harder quizzes in class, but then they finally did stuff. So I don't know, to each their own, I guess. But unfortunately, I can't give you that option. I just can't give you everything offline. All right. With that all being said, I know we went through chapter one notes. I know we went through chapter two notes, and I know we started chapter three notes. Um, we have kind of two options today. Your test one, your exam one, is up online. I think I put it due for um what, like a week and a half from now, something like that. Um so we can finish chapter 3 today, and then I kind of had an idea for um I typically will do a practice exam, and that's kind of like your review. You don't have to do it independently. We can do it together. But basically, I would screen share a problem to you. You guys would all do it. Now, I can try to make something in the Kahoot or whatever other online gaming thing there is for us to use, or we can just do it together in Zoom. So you guys let me know if you would like to try using something off of Canvas or if you would just like to stay within the Zoom and I'll just screen share and we can work through things together. I'll do it either way. I am going to put it up um, onto Canvas. It's going to look like a huge quiz if we choose to do it within Canvas. I'm going to put it up on Pearson. It's going to cover chapters 1, 2, and 3 because that's what your exam covers. Um, but then what I'll do is after we're done reviewing, I'll omit it. So it's not going to like drag anyone's grades super down. Make sense? Like it'll be there, it'll be open, you guys can do it, but then I'll omit the grade so it doesn't affect anyone's grades. All right,
I have a
so
quick question really quick about Pearson.
mhm,
When we did it, like when I signed into it, it was like a 15-day trial, I believe. So
mhm.
now I can't get on without an access code, and I don't know where to access the access code.
So you have a couple of different options. You can either buy it directly through Pearson.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, if it doesn't let you into your account, like if it completely locks you out totally, then you'll probably just have to call Pearson, or try to get a hold of them that way. But the other option is you can buy it from the bookstore. You can buy just the code, or you can buy the book and the code together. Um,
Okay.
if you're gonna do that, I would suggest at this point that you go into the school. I can tell you they're being super, super crazy good at keeping everyone safe. Um, I went in, I had my mask on. We had been sent an email that said if you work for Lehigh, you don't have to get your temperature done and you don't have to do all this craziness. And they didn't really believe me that I taught. They
Mm-hmm.
thought I was a student. So I had to sit there and I'm trying to explain to them where I'm going and what I'm getting, and they're just looking at me like I had 18 heads, and they were like, "Okay, well just stand here and get your temperature done." And I was like, okay, but I didn't think I had to get this done cuz I work here." And they were like, "Yeah, everyone has to get it done." And I was like, "Okay." So they took my temperature and then they were like, "Okay, now sign in." And so I'm signing in and I'm trying to figure out like where my destination is. And they said, just write down where you're going. And I was like, "Okay, well, mailroom 205 and academic services." And they were like, "That's a weird place for a student to go." And I was like, "It's because I'm not a student. Like I've told you this. I'm not a student." And they're like, "Oh, well, you didn't have to get your temperature done." Yes, yes, I'm well aware. So they're being extremely safe. So if you do feel nervous, if you're in the same boat and you need that access code, don't order it online and then wait the 2 extra weeks and then be 2 weeks behind. Just go in, pick it up, and then make sure definitely when you plug it in that you're paying attention to all the letters because if you transpose any, um,
Mm-hmm.
they'll tell you it's invalid. But
Okay.
just be doubly sure when you're checking it. Check it like 2 or 3 times. Make sure it's right when you're punching it in. And then the only other thing is if it still gives you issues, when you get a hold of Pearson, you tell them, "No, I paid for the access. It's not working. Get me into my class." Like, I'm telling you, I've
Okay.
been there myself. They can get you in. Quite honestly, I think it's annoying that this is a business that just in the long run, it's all about making money. So they're like, "Oh, even though we could let you in probably for free, we're not going to." And really, at this point, with all of you being forced to do this, it pretty much should be free at this point, but I can't make the world choices. So, okay. So, any other questions, be it about Pearson or um, Pearson in any way, or
I
just
have one about Pearson.
okay? What's your Pearson question?
So I was on it yesterday trying to like do some work, and I don't know if for anyone else, but it was taking a while to load, and I thought it was like just my internet, but everything else was working. So I just wanted to know if like anyone else had that issue as well.
I had that as well. It's
That
not
was
just
happening
you.
to me too, yeah.
I
Yeah.
did too. It's driving me insane.
They
I
would have
don't.
like the blue circle going for like 2 minutes after you answered a question.
Yeah, and then I'd like try to refresh it, and it would just bring me back to the question that I already completed, and I had to move on. And I'm like, all right, well,
Yeah. I'm right there with you guys. I almost threw my computer literally across the room. I was like, I'm just trying to go through and give you guys points for your quizzes. And every time I graded someone's quiz question, it just kept doing the circle of death, and I was like, I don't understand. And just to give you guys an idea, I'm not only in the same room as my modem, but I can literally I can spit on my modem, and then I'm also connected in with my Ethernet. So like there should be no reasons. I should have nothing wrong with my equipment. So yeah, that was basically probably just them pretty much they probably just were having so many people on yesterday that they were dying. I don't know.
I have a question about that. Like, if that happens in the future again and it's like stopping us from doing work, well, like, what would happen with due dates since it's stopping us from logging on and completing our work then?
So if it really gets too frustrating, you guys can just basically send me the screen of death. Make sure you have when you take your screenshot, make sure it includes the timestamp. So I know you're not just have a backup screen of death where you're like, hey, I forgot to do this, but I also forgot 10 other things. So here's my screen of death, and you can just give me an extension. More than likely, I'm probably gonna give you an extension anyway. I really try to be flexible. The main point to having due dates is because I've been there. I've been the professor that has had no due dates, and I have half the class that's done, 8 weeks early, and I've had the other half the class that hasn't started jack crap. So I put the due dates on there really as a benefit to you guys so that you know kind of a pacing that you need to keep. Um, so the ultimate answer is yes, and the other answer is, I guess a segue point that I will make is if you guys, come midterms and come finals and whatever the situation is, if something is going on, please reach out to me. Please email me. I cannot read your minds, as good as we can get looking at you guys through the screens. I don't know your lives. And I don't really need to know your lives unless it's affecting this class. So if you just email me and say, hey, I have 3 papers due this week, they're all 15 pages long, and I just I need some help getting through this week, then you just email me that, and I will probably say, okay, well, when do you think is a good time framing for us to work with this? Because I can't just say, okay, well, you have indefinite time, but I can obviously help you with that. That being said, I definitely wouldn't take advantage of that. Okay, so now that we have kind of warehoused those questions, and I apologize to anyone who watches the recording later and is 17 minutes in wondering when you're going to start some math. um any other questions? Okay, any decision on if you would like to jump right into a review? I try to give 2 days for a review, just for your future knowledge. I try to give um a day for us to kind of work through problems, and then the second day, if we don't get through the whole review, you guys do it for homework basically, and then the second day, if you had any questions, we go over it. Obviously, I'm not giving you any class time for exams. I have done it in the past where if a student didn't want to take the exam in class, they could take it a separate time. So you guys are probably all just going to take it whenever you're going to take it. I'm not requiring you guys to go into the school to take it, at least not at this point, as long as you follow my process. If I see that people aren't doing my process, then I might have to make that a requirement, which would be a real pain in the butt, I think, for everybody. I really don't want you guys to have to leave your houses if you don't have to. Um, so, would you guys like to finish the notes on chapter 3? Or do you think you're fine with chapter 3 and you just want to do a review? You guys tell me.
I'm down with finishing the notes.
You're down with finishing the notes? Okay.
Yeah, if we could finish like the last part of the notes, I'm still a little iffy about these open circles.
Okay.
Oh, I had a question. On the homework that was due to last night, it said like something like, oh my God, I forget the words, but it was like exertion or intersertion or something like that.
Extrapolation?
Yeah, extrapolation and interpolation. I was really confused on those.
Okay, so anytime I see extrapolation, my brain automatically thinks of extra. So if the where's my teacher notes? Why do I not have chapter 3 up? Did we not start chapter 3?
We started it but didn't finish it last class.
Okay, so I have to download it. So extrapolation basically means that you're looking at a set of data, or you're looking at the shoot, I just clicked on the wrong thing. You're looking at the what you're being given. So either the table or the combination of the table and the graph. And I'll show you again if we have an example in the notes. But basically, you're looking for things that they are asking you a question about it. And if it's not listed in that table, that they're the specific table they're giving you, not like the table you would have from your calculator, then it's considered extra because it's a point they haven't given you. So that kind of has like some intuitive thinking behind it. So that's when you're dealing with extrapolation, because you're not seeing it. So it's not there. Let me just pull open these notes. Okay. And then I'm pretty sure that I fixed the notes that you guys had said was only 2 of the 4 pages. I'm pretty sure that I went through and re-scan those for you. Okay, well, that's being annoying, so I'll just open up the file. Okay. All right. Okay. Nope, not what I wanted to do. Okay, can everybody see that? All right, and I think, were we on the word problems? I know we went over 12,
We stopped at number 14.
14. Okay. All right. So we're looking at a 10,000 seat amphitheater will sell general seat tickets at $45 and reserved seat tickets at $65 for a Foo Fighters concert. Let X and Y be the number of tickets that will sell for $45 and $65 respectively. Assume the show will sell out. Okay, so the first thing you have to do is you have to realize that you're looking for revenue, okay, from selling all tickets and you want to find the equation for F. So total is equal to F of X. Why do you think we're using a slope of -20? Where do you think that's coming from?
The difference between reserved seat tickets and general seat tickets is $20.
Okay. And then the 650,000, that's going to be where your line is crossing the y-axis. Okay. And if I were to guess, this might go with the PowerPoint. Hey, let me pull the PowerPoint up too. It's just so hard when you don't have like 2 screens basically. Like when we're in class, I can show you the PowerPoint and I can be writing my notes board. I can't really do that with this setup. All right. So if you guys need the PowerPoint, let me know and I will put it up for you. It might already be up on Canvas. Has anyone been using the chapter resources? Like when you scroll down in the Canvas and it says like chapter 1, chapter 2, but chapter 3? Okay. All right. So it says use a graphing calculator, sketch the graph of F from 0 to 10,000. What is the slope and what does it mean in this situation? So we already discussed the slope. So when we find F of 8,500, what does it mean in that situation? And then you guys can see that I wrote my sentence off to the right.
Can I ask, where does the 650 come from? Like, how do you find that?
It's a great question. And I'm gonna guess it has something to do with the PowerPoint. Give me 1 second so I can find it for you. You guys can still see the notes when I move away from it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure that I'm not, because you guys can keep writing while I look for you. That was quicker. I can also show you guys the PowerPoints if, because of our online setup, if that ends up being easier for you guys. I have no problem switching. Just have to let me know. Okay, so that was the car. Okay, I figured it out. All right, so to answer your question, the 650,000 comes from the assumption that, let's say there are 0 general seat tickets, then that means the most you can make, being the amphitheater, is if you sold every ticket for $65. So if you sold every ticket for $65, how many seats are there?
Wouldn't it be just 10,000?
Okay, so there are 10,000 seats, and then you're going to multiply the 10,000 by the $65. So that's where you get your 650,000.
Okay.
Mhm. And just so you know, the PowerPoint didn't tell you that at all. Okay. You guys want the PowerPoint, or do you want the teacher, what I've written down? They're both going to cover basically the same thing. PowerPoint might have more problems.
The teacher notes are fine for now.
Okay, so when we have this set up where it says f of something, you're going to put that something in for the x. We know that from chapter 2. So if you put in 8,500, you're going to get out the 480,000, which means what to you? So there's something that you guys should definitely be aware of, and that is with the way this problem is set up. Because we were looking at a slope of -20, that means we're looking at it from the respect of the $45. So that's why when you look at these sentences, it's so for the first one, it says the revenue with 8,500 tickets sold at $45. And then the next one is the revenue with 11,000 tickets sold at $45. The reason why it's not at $65 is because of this slope. Does that make sense? Okay, so depending upon the perspective you're looking at, it could be a difference. It could change some things up. And then if you look at the total of the production, it's told to you as 350,000. How many of each type of ticket must be sold to make a profit of 150,000? So why do you think we set it up the way we set it up here?
I think it's to see like how many tickets like minimum must be sold to like make that profit of 150,000.
Okay. And then why is the 350,000 included there? Why do you need that?
Because that's your like start cost of like where you're starting at.
Yep. So if you don't include both of these, you're not going to get to your total profit, okay? You have to include this idea of your total cost plus then your profit, and then you have to figure out from there how many $45 tickets are sold. And then how do you know, how do we get from the total of the $45 tickets? How do we know what the $65 tickets are going to be? How do you know that this is right?
Because then
Because
they
I'll
said
tell you.
they
What's
were
that,
gonna
yeah?
sell. They said they were gonna sell out, right? And it was sold out no matter what.
Mm-hmm. So if they're selling out, what are these two going to add to? What are they going to, what's your total number of seats?
10,000.
Mm-hmm. So that's kind of like a little internal check for you guys. And these questions are on Pearson. You will have them on Pearson if you haven't already come across them. If you guys want, I can show you on the PowerPoint. They do a really nice job kind of giving you a, where's that? They kind of give you like a setup. Yeah, it's called a 5-step problem solving method. If you guys are interested in that, I can pull it up. Or I can read it to you. Either way. Okay. So I don't think we did 15 last time, right? Oh, and the solutions are gonna, you definitely want to go over those. Okay, so a person plans to invest twice as much money in the, it's either Elfun or Elfun Trust at 2.7% annual interest as in a Vanguard Morgan Growth account at 5.5% annual interest. Both interest rates are 5-year averages. How much will the person have to invest in each account to earn a total of 218 in 1 year? I apologize highly. I don't do so well with the reading out loud. It's very annoying to me. Okay, so what words are especially helpful in this situation?
Total of 218.
So a total of 218 is helpful. What else?
5.5% annual interest.
So the other thing you guys have to think about is these are all systems of equations, which means you have to come up with at least 2 equations. So the way this one helps you is that it says a person plans to invest twice as much money in one account as they do in another. So all you have to really figure out there is you just decide X is either going to be your factor of 2 or it's not going to be your factor of 2. So it really doesn't matter in the long run as long as you keep in mind what each one represents. So the account that has 2.7% interest has to go with the account that is twice as much money. Okay, so X equals 2 times Y. We're getting the 2Y because of the twice as much. And then 0.027 and 0.055. Where did I pull those from? Why are they like that?
You just made the percentages into the decimals.
Absolutely. And then once you do that, we're actually rewriting, or we're going to kind of pull the X, because it's X equals 2Y, we're going to pull that down so that everything is written in terms of X, or everything's going to be written in terms of Y. Now you could have written everything in terms of X, but then you're going to be dealing with a fraction. So that's why we left everything in terms of Y. And then when you come over here and you figure everything out, Y is going to equal 2,000. So then X is going to be 4,000.
How did you figure out the equation?
So basically we broke down the problem. The first equation comes from twice as much money. So something is going to equal twice as much. And then the second part is the 2.7% is going to be times one variable plus the 5.5% is going to be the opposite variable. And then together in 1 year, they're going to equal $218.
But how do you know like which variable to put it with? Like what is X and what is Y in this?
That's all dependent upon you as the reader. So if you want to make X the Elfun Trust and Y the Vanguard Morgan Growth, you can. It's just you have to know which one is what for your own solving. Does that make sense? So like if you wanted to flip-flop those, you could, but you would just have to know that you flip-flop them, that's how your brain saw it. So you could, someone else could have written this as 0.027y plus 0.055x equals 218, and they wouldn't be wrong. They would just have opposite answers here. As long as both of you ended up with 2,000 and 4,000, that's fine. So there's nothing concrete that says this has to be X and this has to be Y. Technically, there should be a, I don't know if I can handwrite it in here. I don't think I can. We should have a let statement here where we would say let X equal Elven Trust and let Y equal Vanguard. Okay? But you could also decide that. You could say let X equal Vanguard and let Y equal Elven Trust. It's, you just have to decide your let statements. And that's typically when you're teaching this, obviously not off of a teacher's note. When you're teaching it in person, you would have those let statements. I just obviously didn't fill them in because I, was just writing notes down for students who hadn't been there. So a chemist, are we good with that problem? Any other questions on it? From anyone? Okay. All right. So a chemist needs 5 quarts of a 17% acid solution, but he has only a 15% acid solution and a 25% acid solution. How many quarts of 15% acid solution should he mix with a 25% acid solution to make 5 quarts of a 17 acid solution? I will tell you that you will do this the same way every time. Solution problems are they're kind of hard to wrap your mind around initially, and then once you figure them out, it's just the same process over and over and over again. So, the first step in a mixture problem is you're going to add the quantities together. So, X plus Y, or you could pick something else. I always use X and Y if I can, equals the total that you're looking for. So what's the total we're looking for in this problem? What's the end goal?
5 quarts of solution.
5 quarts of solution. Very good. So that is why we have X plus Y equals 5. That is a 5, not an S. So I apologize if you read my horrible handwriting. And then if you notice what we chose to do, and I keep saying we because this was based off of last semester's notes. We solved for Y. You could just as easily solve for what? What's your other option there?
X.
You could solve for Y or you could solve for X. Very good. So we solved for Y, which means at some point everything's going to be in terms of X. The next step is that second equation that you have to come up with, and it is the same every time. So we start out with a 15% solution of some amount, and then we start with a 25% solution of some amount. So I chose to do it where the first thing I saw, it became my X. So really, again, there should be a let statement. Let X equal 15% solution. Let Y equal 25% solution. You do not have to keep it that way. You can choose to flip-flop them if you want. So again, as Angela told us before, we want to change our percentages to the decimal form. So that's why we have 0.15x plus 0.25y equals. Now someone explain to me how I did my second part. Why is that equal to 5 times 0.17? Someone break it down for me. Where did it come from?
Because the chemist needs the solution of 0.17 and start it with the 5, or needs the 5 quarts.
Right. So if you kind of look at this and break it down, each piece is brought up the same exact way. We have a solution percentage times the amount plus a solution percentage times the amount equals the amount times the percentage. Okay? If you really needed to, you could put the 0.17 first. I just chose not to. But do you see how each piece is made up exactly the same way? All right? That's how you know that you're on the right stage of how you're setting this up. Now, the next step we chose to do is we replaced the y value for what y equaled. Y equals 5 minus x. You plug it in, and then you can go through and do your distribution. And then once you solve for a variable, you'll easily find the other. So if x equals 4, y has to equal 1. Why is that the case? Because what's the total quarts you want? You want 5 quarts. Okay? 4 plus 1 is 5. Now, I can tell you from past experiences, especially with something that's so small as 5, students will ask, can I just guess and check? Now, if you wanted to sit there and play guess and check all day long, I'm not going to tell you not to. If that's the method you want to use, sure. But what happens if on the test, instead of 5 here, what if it's a 25? What if it's a 75? Okay? Knowing how to do the exact absolute method is going to show you how you can do it no matter what the amount is. Make sense? Okay? All right. Here is another solution example, and we don't have to go over it if you don't want to, but I will give you a big hint. Water is water, which means what percentage does water have of anything else? Think about it. I'll tell you, this is the one thing that students get caught up on when they're working it through it on Pearson or something, or on a test. So let's just look at this one conceptually. A chemist needs 8 cups of a 15% alcohol solution, but has only a 20% alcohol solution. How much 20% solution and water should she mix to form the desired 8 cups of 15% solution? So, I guess fortunately or unfortunately for alcoholics, water has what percent of alcohol in it?
0?
0. So no matter how much water you have, you're not adding any alcohol to it. So it's basically you find out how many cups of the higher solution you need, and then how much water do you use to dilute it. Okay? So it tends to be pretty easy when you have the water, as long as you remember what to do with it. All right. 18. 18, for whatever reason, I feel is already done for you. I don't really know why it's on the paper. I would just, if I were you guys, I would write down this example just because it shows you in words, it shows you the inequality, it shows you the graph, and it shows you the interval notation. I will not lie, I get so confused with some of it, like the inequality and the interval notation. When I'm working in Pearson, I will get those wrong left and right all day long because I go, wait, what part did they want me to put that? What? So if you write this down, at least 2 of them, if not all of them, that will help you, and you can kind of just put it maybe on an index card, or mark it somehow so that when you're working in Pearson, you can have that readily available to you. And then if they ask for an inequality, it doesn't have the parentheses or the brackets, and then vice versa. I need to have that written out. I can't do it otherwise. I can also tell you that on the test, if for whatever reason you get that stuff confused, but your answer's technically right, I'm probably just gonna give you all of it and then write you a little note. Um, I'm not gonna hold that against you. Any any questions on how we solve inequalities? I think that's not the end. Ooh. Okay. I don't want to scroll too far. I'll give you guys a second to write stuff down if you're writing stuff down. Okay. Any questions for me on inequalities? I will tell you that if you are someone that likes highlighters, as you can tell, I kind of like highlighters. Um, Inequalities are really awesome for highlighters. Just throwing it out there. I enjoy it highly. Okay. So I apologize for the scanning of this. You can tell I use double-sided paper to try and be more eco-friendly. So this is saying one budget offers pickup trucks for $39.95 per day plus 19 cents per mile. One U-Haul location charges $19.95 per day plus 49 cents per mile. I will tell you, this is like such a popular question. I can't tell you why it's a popular question, but it's like everywhere. So A ask you find models that describe the 1-day cost of renting a pickup truck from companies. And then B says graph or tables. Use graphs or tables on your graphing calculator of your models to estimate which mileages budget offers the lower price. So again, excuse me, I don't really know why it was put on here. You can tell that I didn't do the math. It was just on there for you guys, I guess, to look at. You can figure it out yourself though. You can see where they got everything right. So 19 miles per mile. I guess they chose to do like maybe D for distance or D for drive, and then plus the base rate of 39.95 a day, and then the same thing, and then they show you the intersection point. I can tell you that you should be a little bit happy, because if we were in class, I do this out on the board. I don't let you guys see this part. In fact, it's kind of amusing because even though you have it on your printout, most of the time the students didn't pay attention until after we had already created it on the board. And then they were like, oh, hey, it was right here the whole time. Yes, it was. It was right there the whole time. But we draw it out. Okay, so hopefully, wow, this one just keeps going and going. The last little bit we have is graphing inequalities. And again, you have to forgive me because this is bled through from the opposite side. So the shading you want to look at is only on the left-hand side. The other thing I can tell you is when you're working with inequalities, what can you notice about the variables in both of these cases? Where are the variables at? Where have I written them to be? On which side of the inequality?
Left.
Okay, so there's a reason why I did that. If you keep your variable on the left-hand side, the variable that you're interested in, the inequality will show you which way to shade most of the time. And then the other thing you want to do is you always want to use a test point. Now, I don't know why I didn't put it on my teacher note, because I know for 1,000% certainty that I put it on the board. If you use test points, you want to use a test point that you can easily see, and then it'll help you decide if you're shading on that side of the line or not. What can you also see about an inequality line? What's interesting about these lines other than their shading? They have shading, and what else do they have?
Points in a line.
Like the open or close line.
Right. It's dashed or dotted, however you want to think about it. So in Pearson, that makes a difference. If you're in the Pearson app and you're going to draw an inequality, you cannot use the regular line. What happens is you draw your line, and then you can change the style type. You can change it to dashed and then put in your shading, but it will mark you wrong every single time if you try to use a regular line. Okay? All right. Any questions on how you graph inequalities? I will probably be putting in some of your participation grades this week into Pearson for where you've been so far. I can also let you know that even though it slightly makes me sound creepy, I do snippet the Zoom session from time to time. So those of you who have had your videos on, Kudos. Those of you who have blacklisted me, don't be surprised if your participation is not 100. But it will be higher than those folks who choose to just, not show up at all. Are we good to scroll? Think so? Okay. All right. So, again, I do apologize for the bleeding through. Obviously, when I did this, I was not thinking that we would have a global pandemic and that I would need to have to teach via my notes. 24A and 24B, why are they special? Someone talk to me about them.
There's a line under, I think, like the inequality sign. So it's going to be, instead of the dotted line when you draw it on the graph, it's going to be closed like a solid line.
That is true. What can you tell me about B? Why is it special?
It's not a function.
Correct, it's not a function. But because it's not a function, you have your vertical line there. And so anytime you see an inequality like this where you have an X and some kind of number, you don't need to rack your brain. Just go straight on the X axis to where that number is and draw your dash line up and down, okay? And then you just have to follow the arrowhead. If it's facing to the right, then you shade to the right. If it's facing to the left, you shade to the left. The only time you cannot use the arrowhead shortcut is if for whatever reason you went through and your variable's on the opposite side. You cannot use the shortcut if the variable is on the wrong side of the inequality. Okay? I'm repeating it, all right? You cannot use the shortcut unless the variable is on the left-hand side. Right? Has to be on the left. Now you can always rewrite it so it's on the left, but then if you rewrite it, you have to make sure that you rewrite it correctly. All right, and then the last one, 25, you can see that we have a system of inequalities, and even though it's really hard to tell, your second line is dashed, and I do apologize, there shouldn't be an asterisk there, that was not done to scale at all. I drew that like a heathen. So I probably did it really quick just to get it done with because it was the last question. You obviously will have a much easier time because most of your stuff should be on the computer through Pearson. The only other statement I will give you is that if you have to do one if you have to do one on your exam, I would suggest if you don't have if you don't have graphing paper, I would get just a cheap thing of graphing paper, like one subject or something, and have it just in case for graphing purposes. I would definitely do that for sure.
I do have a quick question. Back up on the X is the vertical line.
Mm-hmm.
So are you only shading to the right of the 0, or would it be all of it?
It's all of it.
Like,
It's from that line that I drew.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And the other way you check those is you have to make sure you use your test points. And again, I apologize immensely to you guys. I don't have test points on these because I obviously did the problems with my students in class. So I showed them the test points in class and then just didn't put it on the teacher notes. If you guys need to see anything with test points, just shoot me an email and I can redo these, or I can do them on a separate sheet of paper and I can show you how to use the test points. Definitely use your test points. Honestly, it can save you a lot of times. Okay, so we still have a little bit of time, right? This is over at 31, so we have like 11-ish minutes. How do you guys think you want to do your review? Do you want me to try and find a way to do the review on Kahoot? Do you want me to just do the thing through Pearson? You guys tell me. What will make you most happy?
If we did it through Kahoot, would we be downloading the app and doing it?
I think you have to use the app for Kahoot. But then I think what we would do is I would do a Zoom and then I would share the Kahoot screen and then you guys would be able to see the code. I think the whole point of doing the app is just so you guys can have that quote unquote competitive edge part and you can kind of have like that gaming aspect. If you just care more about the concepts and making sure you understand what's going on for the test and less about being competitive, then I'm totally down for just doing it through Pearson and I can just screencast Pearson and we can go through the problems together.
Okay.
So
Okay, so I don't even know what Kahoot is.
trust me.
So that
before-
being said,
yeah.
I have like no competitiveness going on with this class because I'm just trying to grasp the ideas. So, I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter how we do it, but I guess I would have to like understand what the heck Kahoot is.
So Kahoot's just like it's an online app basically where students, the professor can kind of come up with the questions and it's almost like a trivia kind of thing. But obviously yours couldn't be trivia based. Yours would have to be our math problems. I'm kind of hoping you all lean more towards Pearson because then I don't have to come up with the questions or find a way to get the math questions into Kahoot. But I also didn't want to be like, hey, we're all going to be like anti-fun and we're just not going to even offer Kahoot as an option. I mean, I'll find a way to do it. I might rip the rest of my hair out figuring it out. But I mean, I do know how to work Kahoot, but on the other hand, math is just, I think, a little bit harder to get into some programs. It's not like we have, you know, I'm not going to sit here and waste your time and do vocab questions with you. I'm not doing that. You all have the vocab. Even if I had vocab questions on my exams, you have the answers, just write them down. Like, vocab is not really, I think, a thing that we have to worry about.
If we did it through Pearson, would it just be like another homework assignment?
So if we do it through Pearson, I'm not going to just leave it to you guys to do it independently. I will create it and then open it up to you. If you guys, if you want to have access to it today, I can probably create it after my second class and you can start to kind of look through it. But ideally what would happen is on Monday, I would pull it open and we would screen share it. I would screen share it with you and then we would all work through the problems. So that would mean there would definitely be a minimum of 24 problems because I would want everyone to have some form of working through it with me. It would definitely not be those 8 or 10 of you that kind of carry the class would not be able to carry the class. Okay. I want to make sure everyone's good for your test. But as I said before, it's not going to pull your grade down. It's going to look like a quiz. And you should definitely do it because it'll help you. But then once you guys turn your exams in, I'll take it down. I'll either delete it or I'll just omit it. It'll just depend. Because if you guys want access to it to look at it again to review for your final, then I probably won't delete it. What's the other thing I was going to tell you? Oh, I can go over the quizzes with you, like quiz 1. I can go over quiz 1 with you. If you want to make an appointment with me and do a one-on-one or a small group, that's fine as long as everyone in the group has completed the quiz. But some folks still need to do the quiz. So I obviously just can't go over it with you as a big group because then those folks that still need to finish the quiz would clearly be sitting here going, this is the greatest thing ever. I can't wait to take this quiz now. And obviously I don't have to go over homework with you because you have infinitely many options, but if you do need help with that, I do have actual tutoring hours as well. So any other questions for today that you guys need? Okay, I can tell you that I'm pretty good after 3 o'clock today, and then tomorrow I have time from I think it's 12:30-ish to 3 o'clock. And then Friday is just kind of variable. It depends on how many tutoring students I have. But if you guys need anything, please reach out. I do think that I'm very flexible. I do think that I'm, that I can, work with you guys. I really want everyone to be successful across the board. I really don't want anyone to have to get forced to take 105, whatever number we have. I don't want you to have to do it again. So if we can work together and get through this, then that's what my preference would be. Please take note of your due dates. I was absurdly nice and gave people extensions beyond extensions and didn't even have to have them asking me. I just went through and looked at your Pearson, and if you had past dues, I just reopened it for you for the majority, as long as I saw that you were working on it at some point. All right. Any last minute questions before we go?
Okay, just to clarify, for the exams, like exam 1 that you just sent out, we are to write our workout and take pictures and send it to you.
Yes.
And do we like, as soon as we have that done, can we send it in?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't have to wait till the due date. You can send it in early, and I will grade it as practically probably as soon as I get it. The other thing is too, is that you do not have to, you don't have to send me every quiz unless you have handwriting work for the quiz. Does that make sense? Okay, so if there's a quiz where you're going through it and you're like, holy crap, thank goodness for this chapter. I know everything that I'm doing, everything I'm getting it right, and I don't have to write anything down. Then you don't have to make it up. You don't have to write it down for the sake of writing it down. just send me work if you're struggling with a concept. If you're like, I've done this problem 15 different ways, one of them has to be right, I'm sure. Then send me that stuff so that I can look through it and go, yes, this one right here, that was perfect. Now you have your point. And then I will obviously be able to give you feedback. And if you do that with the quizzes, then you'll know how I grade. So then when you get to your first exam, you're not sitting there sweating bullets going, I wonder how I'm going to do on this. Okay. I can tell you as well that I do not have that many exam options. So what I do, because you're so used to having multiple attempts at the homework and you're so used to having the 4 attempts at the quizzes, I grade your exam and then I give it back to you with feedback, but I don't give you the answers or the work solutions, because if you want, you can redo it for partial points. Okay, does that make sense? So like if a test question is worth 10 points and you did it and I gave you a -5, you can earn 2.5 back if you redo it. Okay? All right. I thank you all for your time and attention. If you don't have any other questions, I'll let you go. And if you do you have a question?
Yeah. Where where do you prefer to get the like the work for like quizzes and stuff? Like where do you prefer to get that, through Canvas or through your email?
I prefer across the board that all communication be through the regular email.
Okay.
Canvas makes me want to run off of a bridge. Because when I get it through Canvas, okay, I'll let you guys know I have probably a small form of OCD. I hate unread email. Like, have you ever had those friends, or maybe you're one of them, don't tell me if you're one of them, but when you like randomly see your friend's phone for whatever reason and they have like 1,000 unread emails in whatever file they keep it in, it makes me feel like I have a small dagger in my heart and I just can't stand it. I can't. So what happens with Canvas is it immediately sends it to my regular email, which is fine because then I answer you. But then sometimes I forget about it, and when I go into Canvas, it's like 15 unread messages and I'm like, what? Why are there unread messages? I read all my messages. I don't understand. And then I realize that I've already dealt with all of it, but it's just there in Canvas to haunt me like an old dead relative. So, yeah, if you cannot send me stuff in Canvas, that's great. Although I understand why, like when you're going through Pearson or whatever, and it's just easier to do the ask the instructor or whatever, I'm not ever going to not answer you or be like, send this to me in my regular email or else you will not get an answer. But when it comes to the exams and the quizzes, definitely regular email. Um, I have surprisingly been able to get images from you guys through Pearson, like through Canvas, but I just don't know if you'd be able to send me your exams and your quizzes that way. And I just would rather like troubleshoot it now and just use the regular email.
Okay.
Okay. That was really long-winded to just say regular email, but yeah, that's how it is. All right. I will see you all on Monday. If you have any problems, please email me. If you need anything, here to help. Bye, guys.